important for us to it's so important for us to have a group of young leaders like yourselves who are interested, who are activated on road safety and sustainable mobility, but at the same time, developing the things that you feel are necessary to make your work more effective, to make your work more impactful, and also for you to meet and work with other young leaders who have similar passions, similar interests to you guys as well, and work together to respond to those needs that you have in terms of learning. Everything that we do is really rooted in the Global Youth Statement for Road Safety. That is our underlying kind of document that we use. It's our underlying principles. There's so many principles in there, from our demands to what we call for, but also what we commit to as young leaders. And everything that we do is fallen out of that Global Youth Statement. In this session, ARTvocacy, it's about advocating, it's about raising our voice for road safety and safe mobility. And then, of course, like I mentioned, to learn from each other, to learn from experts. We've got some guys who've been in the field for 20-odd years, 20+ years, working in this field in arts and advocacy, and also to hear how things have gone well. And sometimes when things don't go so well, we can learn from those experiences as well. Okay, but before we start, we always say, and our approach is to have fun while learning, right? We don't want to just sit here and have you listen to us and talk to us. We want you to talk to each other. We want you to interact with one another. But at the same time, we want you to have fun while you're learning in this environment. So hopefully that comes across. And so in that spirit, the first thing that I want to do is I want to spend, let's say, 5 minutes just for you guys to quickly go into breakout rooms. Introduce yourselves, because I'm sure a lot of you have not met each other before. If you want, switch your cameras on. I'd love to see you guys talking to each other face to face, and introduce yourselves. I can see a lot of people are introducing themselves in the chat as well, so that's great. So yeah, I'm going to send you all guys into breakout rooms now. Let's see, we have 40 people here, so let's do around something that's manageable. So let's do around about 3 or 4 participants in a room. And then in 5 minutes, I'm going to bring you back. And I want you to answer this question, okay? Number 1, who are you? Where are you from? How come you're in the coalition? Meet each other. And the main question I want you to ask is, who is your favorite artist? And now artist is quite a subjective term, right? Art is also a subjective thing. But whatever this term means to you, could be a rapper, could be a poet, could be a painter, could be a visual artist, whatever it is that you see as an artist that represents your view of what an artist is. I want you to discuss that with your peers and explain why, all right? Why is this person your favorite artist? Could be anyone, it could be Kanye West. I don't mind. Maybe you've just seen that Kanye West documentary on Netflix and you're like, yo, this is my favorite art. I don't mind. I'm not judging you. No judgments, just share what you feel is important to you. And I'm gonna see you in, let's say, 3.5 minutes for the sake of time. So you should see yourselves pop up. Go to your breakout rooms, and I'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, great. I can see people moving. People are moving. You should see a little prompt come up onto your screen. Just click accept, and you'll go into a breakout room. A few more people yet to join. All right, see you in a minute. Hey, Lisa, are you good to go with your bit?
Yes.
Where's my
yes, I didn't jump into the breakout rooms because I was just doing last minute prep stuff. So I'm good.
For some reason, my camera goes really wide and then goes really, really in as well. I have no idea. Anyway, I'm going to bring them back in 1 minute. Hey, Raquel, you good?
All good here. Multitasking, but all good.
Okay. As always. All right.
नेपाल हो नि त हैन फेरि यो कम्प्युटर उ त चलायो भने यो अक्षर चाहिँ All right, I think everybody's back. So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little opportunity just to connect with your fellow peers, some of your coalition members, and maybe you've met them for the first time. So yeah, I hope nobody was embarrassed or nobody felt like people were judging their favorite artist, whoever. All right, great. I am going to ask you now to kind of just orientate around this topic of road safety, artvocacy, advocacy, and art, and how do we connect to this topic? And to do that, we're going to get started with just a few kind of reflective questions to gauge your insights on this topic already. So what I want you guys to do is on your phone, either you can scan this code, or you can go to menti.com and enter the code 47483463. All right, and that is going to bring up a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you guys. All right, so in the meantime, we're going to switch. And can I just ask guys just to mute themselves if they're not talking? All right, so in the meantime, hopefully, actually, I'll leave that up on the screen because you probably still need to see the code. So just give me a second. So it was
scanning or going to this link, and that should bring up the question. And I can see people have already joined, so that's great. And I'm going to just knock this up onto the screen as well. Awesome. Seeing where people are from. First question is, which country are you joining from?
Hello, please drop the link in the chat box. Or some of us were using system.
Okay, I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it on the screen now. So just bear with me. It's deciding to not want to share the screen for some reason. But here we go. I think we got it. All right. So you should see. I think it was Andrew who said that. At the top, you see menti.com. You see that menti.com, and then use the code at the top 47483463. All right. So I can see in the room we have people joining us from Moldova. That's amazing. Zimbabwe, Ghana, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Costa Rica, Albania, Jordan. I'm not that great with my flags, but I think that is. I'm not sure. I'm not even going to try. It looks
Palestine.
Like Palestine.
No, it's Jordan.
Right.
No, Jordan.
Is it Jordan flag?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Okay. Great. See, I didn't want to get that wrong. Get myself into troubles there. South Africa here, India, Ghana, Costa Rica, Zambia. Fantastic. So many people. Tanzania, Philippines, Brazil. Shout outs to everybody who's here. There's a big crew of you guys. There's a lot of you from different parts of the world. So welcome to the global family. So great to have you guys here. All right. Okay. So I want you to now have a think about one word. Your question should have changed on your Menti now. One word that you think of that brings arts to the world. So it's asking you, what do you think art brings to the world? What do you think art brings to the world? All right. So this could be anything that comes to mind. There's no right or wrong answers here. I just want to know what you feel art brings to the world. Social change, life, connection, criticism, hope, joy and connection, pure soul, empathy, insight, reality. Oh, these are amazing words. Impact, creativity, peace of mind. It connects people, bringing peace and coexistence. Creativity again, in-depth expression. We have satisfaction, peace, relaxation, entertainment, and inspiration. Oh man, these are beautiful words. Joy, perspective, revolution. Oh, that's amazing. Creativity, creating, thinking, and problem solving. Openness. These are amazing words, guys. So you've already got an idea of, what you feel or what you think art brings to the table, what art brings to the world that we live in. It's not just about pretty things. It's actually some of these profound perspectives like freedom and openness and satisfaction and joy and expression. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So I've written down here a couple of different art forms that exist in the world, and obviously some overlap, multidisciplinary arts overlap with each other. But I want you to choose your top two. And let's see what come up. So just choose two that you feel relate to you the most. So we're going to see a big variety of different things popping up right now. So I think music connects, like we can see, music connects with a lot of different people. Second is painting, like the visual arts. Literature is also quite popular within this group, so that's really cool. Okay, architecture is throwing itself up there as a joint third. I'll just wait for a few people to jump in. So music seems to be one of the most common, and maybe it's one of the most pervasive, the one that's most common as well, that we hear and see every single day. So here you can see that, we all have different, aspirations when it comes to connecting with art, but we also all have different preferences as well on, what kind of arts we enjoy connecting with. So that's a great representation of the variation of what things, what kinds of arts we as a human species, as we as young leaders are connecting with. Next question. Have you guys ever taken part in any form of artistic expression? Now, artistic expression is
a loose term and it's a subjective term, but I feel, you know, anything from doodling to singing to drawing or anything like that, creating a film, filming yourself, could be a form of artistic expression, right? So I'm leaving this open to you guys in terms of what you feel is an artistic expression for you. So a couple of people not sure or don't know, but the vast majority of you are saying yes, have taken part in some sort of artistic expression. I guess that's probably why you're here as well, right? To explore a bit more. You're interested in arts, but at the same time, you want to see how it connects to advocacy and impact. So great, thank you for answering that question. And this is the last question, is what word comes to mind when you think of art and advocacy? Maybe it's connected to what you think art brings to the world, but what do you think when you think of art and advocacy? Change, impact, revolution, resilience. That's a great word, resilience. Pressure, change is kind of getting bigger while I'm seeing it. Change, pressure, talent, remedy. Revolution has come here again. Social change, inspiration. Let's see, words of movement. Influence, anti-capitalism, a change in society. I think change is probably the biggest word that's coming up. And then we're seeing that kind of in variations of change in society, but also societal change and influencing and communicating and putting pressure on the establishment per se. Okay, fantastic. Any more? Yeah, any more for any more? Impact and expression. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for reflecting on that. Some really great reflections and some really great opportunities to learn from each other in terms of some of the pointers that have come up. So I want to go now quickly to some of the learning objectives that we have. Hopefully you guys can see my screen, because I know that there's things being a bit glitchy. Yeah, you should be seeing learning objectives. All right, so by the end of this session, participants will be able to, number one, demonstrate how art can catalyze social change and identify some examples from history. Number two, identify some key artistic expressions that can help move the road safety agenda forward. Identify some ways that you can use art in your own work, in your projects and in your activities that you're currently running. And of course, learn from arts projects that have influenced positive change on different social issues. So a little bit of a kind of how we're going to break those learning objectives into today's session. I'm really, really excited to have Lisa Russel from Create 2030, a brother and a fellow artist, Kenneth Mulinde from Yamu, who is an amazing artist from Uganda with the Youth Arts Movement, and one of his artists, Hawa, who's collaborated with us before. And as I mentioned, I'm Manpreet, and I'll be leading you through this session. So first, we're going to start with how can art lead to social change. We're going to have some insights from Lisa, who's an incredible filmmaker, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, and we're really privileged to have her here to speak about her work and how she creates change through her art. We're going to have a speaker panel with these three people here as well, and then we're going to be hearing about a practical example of how we're going to be seeing art lead to social change. Well, hopefully it's been programmed and scoped to lead to social change with the Claiming Our Space campaign that's launching actually next week. So we'll kick off with that. So firstly, my little bit here is to talk to you a little bit about what is art in terms of catalyzing social change. Now, when we talk about a catalyst is something that speeds up. In chemistry, a catalyst is something that speeds up a reaction. You know, it goes, you add it into a mixture or a compound or something that you do, and it'll speed the change up. It will speed the reaction up. So how does art catalyze social change? How does it speed up the change that we want to see in the world? First of all, I want you to ask this question, and I want you to ponder on it for a second. What would the world be like without art? right? So no music, no paintings, no interpretations of color, no dance, no expressions, no films, no cinema. I think we can all agree that probably the world would just be air. We take art out of the phrase or the word earth, we're left with just air. It's just gray. It's just a gray world out there. And for many centuries and many millennia, you know, with color, inspiration, and vibrancies, artists have coupled activism to create this meaningful change on so many different levels of human experience. And I want to go back all the way back to the very, very beginning. And this isn't even the beginning. This is when humans or human-like creatures existed on the world. This is a Neanderthal cave painting from roughly 65,000 years ago, found in a cave in Spain. And basically it's a handprint and some like ladder-like lines that have been scratched onto the wall. And you can see like a primitive use of ink around the edges. And it was preserved. And I'm sure there was other art forms in different parts of the world, but this one is recognized as one of the oldest. And it's basically a Neanderthal, the early kind of humanoids, that's left this artwork and in a place that they felt was special. And it's their way of saying, we were here, you know, we exist, we have something to say. And it shows us perhaps that there was some early signs of language, early signs of communication that these people wanted to say. So as you can see, there's something innate in us that we all want to express ourselves, that we all want to say something, and we all want to represent something through symbols, through art. And these kinds of paintings have been found everywhere across the world, in caves all around the world, in societies and civilizations that had no connection. So you can see that humans have this desire to communicate with one another. But just as, you know, we see design or technology as an afterthought, design is seen as a little bit of an afterthought to the technology or a new design or a new architecture. This is often seen, art is often seen as unnecessary, something that's less concrete, something that's less tangible behind social change. And other things are more important, like rhetoric or the charisma of a leader or the qualities of a leader. But anyone who's studied the history of social movements from back when civilization began, you'll always see that arts, symbolism, media have always had a role to play, from political posters to buttons that people wear during elections, to films, to music. And there's always been a function of social art to lead to social change. And in this instance, it's important to look at some of these social functions of art and what they can lead to. So I'm going to talk you through just some of these social functions of what art creates for social change. Okay. First of all, there is an idea of art creates a mirror to society. So it holds up a mirror. If somebody holds up a mirror to your face, you look at yourself and you take a moment to look at your actions, what you're doing in the world. And I want to show you this example of a photography exhibition that took place in 2009 in Kenya, all around Kenya, after some of the country's worst election violence that happened after the 2007 elections. It left around 1,500 people dead, 500,000 people were displaced. And a young man called Boniface Mwangi went out into the community while the atrocities were happening, while the violence was taking place, and decided that he's going to document it. He's going to take pictures, and he's going to show this to the world, show this to his community. And this led to a street exhibition called Picha Matani, which basically means a street exhibition, and showed the Kenyans the face of their reality, of what had happened, the worst of humankind, the worst of mankind in its most sectarian way. And it led to peace building. It led to a type of reconciliation where communities across Kenya came together, began dialogue, and it held up this mirror to society to show that, you know, we as society need to realize what has happened. Don't shy away from it, but look at it and face it on, face to face. You know, this often can manifest in paintings. It can manifest in all sorts of different ways, sculptures, poetry. And in this case, it was a picture which
the phrase goes, a picture says 1,000 words, right? What else does art do? The social function. It can have a vision for social change. It can create a world where we acknowledge what's happening in our world, in the community around us, in our world, in your reality, and it enables to create a vision for change. Maybe not in the way of getting there right now per se, or the route to getting there, but a world that would be better if art was, if the world was depicted through that art. And in this example, it's a sculpture from the No Violence campaign of the knotted gun. And this kind of big examples of these knotted guns exist in New York and in Geneva and in lots of different places where there's a lot of UN and peace building things. But it's imagining a world without guns, without violence. And this was created after the death of John Lennon. And you can see in the corner, Ringo Starr, another one of the Beatles, created this knotted gun with the words "Imagine," which was one of their John Legend's favorite song or famous songs. It also helps us to express our common humanity with struggles around the world. So where one community is facing injustice, we all face injustice. And art helps us to understand and see the world in a way that is showing our common understanding for one another, our common feeling, our common strives for happiness and prosperity and freedom, and that all of humanity wants. And in the recent example, so this is the example of slaves in the slave trade cutting down sugar canes in a plantation. And we also know that there's a lot of war art coming out now in solidarity with the actions that are happening in Ukraine. And so it shows that we as a species can connect and work together with one another. It's also a voice for the voiceless, where oppression, where repression or silences of communities are existing. Art's usually the voice of the voiceless that can build empathy, it can burst misconceptions, and it can raise the voice of the marginalized in society. So this is an example of a glass sleeping figure that was made in the UK, and it's highlighting the growing number of hidden and invisible homeless people that are there, shrouding in a blanket made of glass. And this kind of like ghost-like figure is illustrating that, there's no gender, there's a fragility of these people on the ground. It's given them a voice for people to be more empathetic to the people who don't have a voice, people who are marginalized in society. Art's usually been their voice, their way of expressing themselves and their way of being seen as well. And this one led to more public support for homelessness charities. It helped build a political will and a social will for funding and more homeless support in the UK. So it actually can lead to change as well. The next one is about speaking truth to power. Now, this means holding our leaders accountable for their promises, for their actions, for rooting out corruption. It's also about the dangerous act of rebellion in countries, especially where dissent is often rewarded with harsh jail sentences or simply disappearing, as we know happens in different parts of the world. And sometimes some of the most bravest things that we can do as practitioners or as creatives is actually speak out and influence public opinion through art and have something to say. This is a great quote from Pablo Picasso, who says, "Art is not made to decorate apartments. It's made as an offensive and defensive weapon against the enemy." And the enemy in this case is not necessarily a military enemy, but it could be a political struggle or a social struggle. And then we see arts working to promote action for change, for capturing the essence of the mood of an environment or the mood of a movement. Depicting a message through artistic means can actually help up this process, speed up the process of change, and also in the hearts and minds of people. So you see here the Black Lives Matter movement. Art has been a crucial part in capturing the voice of, the voice of the voiceless, but also the voice of a movement, a narrative for changing companies and businesses and communities around the world to create empathy with this movement. But of course, there's a lot more to do. And that's why art continues through music, through dance, through visual film, through theater, through writing, inspiring empathy, which then has always led to a major role in justice movement, creating this feeling of empathy, of connecting with other people, to feel what they're feeling. and art shifts the way people think they see about the world, but also what they perceive. And especially for young people, when young people are doing art, it's a really powerful way to give a voice to their passions and to talk truth to power. Now, I feel like this is a really, really powerful example as well. Good art can educate and create empathy, and empathy leads to change. Now, this is a story of a young Pakistani teenager called Sabar Kaisa, who was shot in the head by an uncle. She was thrown into a river, and it was a punishment for having eloped with a man that she loved. And Sabar survived and became a protagonist in a documentary by Shamin Obeid Chonoi, and it's a documentary about so-called honor killings called The Girl in the River. And after watching this film, it won an Oscar, and Pakistan's Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif at the time, promised to take a tougher line on honor killings, and he fulfilled his promise. He, about 2 months after the film was released, they passed a law, Parliament passed a law that made it much harder for perpetrators to walk free. And we saw this example again, for those of you that had the privilege of being at the Second World Youth Assembly in 2020, when we meaningfully engage young people in artistic expression, through artist performances and visual symbolism, we create a much more profound experience for people that were there. It gave people a chance to connect as young people to topic more passionately, to express their opinions, to express their views, to watch live performances, to watch art being created and give their opinions through art walls and graffiti walls and all these different ways that you can use art to create these longer lasting creative expressions. And I want to end with just a couple of quotes where we say, art not only gives us ability to imagine what's possible, but artists also helps us understand our past as well. And then when we look at the opposite of what art is, what art can be used for, such as propaganda, there's many ways that we can understand the world, express it in a creative way, and catalyze change. And propaganda tells you what to think, what to feel, and to do, whereas good art should inspire critical thinking and empathy. So I want to ask you the question, from listening to this and listening to the different ways that arts play a function, and it's almost exploring the why, how do you use art, or how can you use art in the work that you're currently doing for road safety? And I just want you to ponder on that question. The possibilities are endless and the impact is immense. Ponder on this question, as you're going to see some really great examples now from our next few speakers on how they've used art for their own social change in their work. So that is a little bit of a background. I want to wrap up my part of the session with a great video from our next speaker from Create 2030 and exploring the power of art for social change, especially in relation to the SDGs. So have a watch of this and tell me what you think.
It is said that the role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible. With the stroke of a brush, a new landscape is seen. A sculpture can reimagine our environment. A photograph can be a tool for justice. Songs can help communities build resilience. And films can challenge harmful narratives to build empathy. It's true that artists can move hearts and minds, but we can do so much more. We are one of the world's fastest growing economies. We are incredible creative thinkers and problem solvers. We build new paradigms for cities and drive tourism as cultural workers. We are important communicators during crises and help connect the disconnected. Our livelihoods are independent of a formal work culture. We can be of any age, any ethnicity, and work anywhere in the world. We are not charity, but a growing, thriving economy. Our sector generates more than 29.5 million jobs and $2,250 billion in US revenue. Our world is in need of a creative revolution, and yet our livelihoods are at stake. You can help change this trajectory. Create artist-friendly policies. Support the health and well-being of working-class creatives. Give artists a seat at the decision-making tables. Solicit our creative thinking and problem-solving skills, and engage us in creating a sustainable world by 2030. My name is Lisa Russel, and I'm a filmmaker and a curator. As founder of Create 2030, I advocate for responsible engagement of professional artists in the sustainability sector. Let us create a better world together.
All right, and I'm really excited to have the Emmy Award-winning filmmaker from Create 2030, the founder of Create 2030, who created that film. Masters in Public Health. She's a curator. She's an arts curator who's been at the forefront of the art storytelling movement in the UN and the NGO sector for the past 15 years. Lisa, over to you.
Hi.
Thank you so much.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. So what's up, everyone? I'm calling from Mombasa, Kenya. Thank you for the great introduction. I'm honored. It's really an honor for me to meet you all, and especially because I'm really pleased to be working with the upcoming campaign that's launching on Monday. And I have to say that, I've worked with a lot of different agencies, a lot of different entities, and working with yours and the team here, they've really been able to allow me to sort of be the best that I can be in terms of bringing my ideas and my creativity to the table for this campaign. So I'm really, really excited and honored to be here and really happy to meet all of you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just do a quick presentation. I am going to show one of my films, but I'm only going to be speaking for like 10 minutes. So bear with me while I share my screen. Where did we go? Okay, very odd. I cannot pull up Zoom. Do you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, there we are. Okay. Okay. All right, let's share my screen. I will go ahead. Okay, so I'm going to do like a super, super fast introduction to the work I do as an impact storyteller, and talk a little bit about, some ideas I have for this particular campaign. Just some background on me. So I actually didn't go to film school. I work as a filmmaker. I started my career getting my master's in public health, and then got my first job working in Kosovo and Albania during the conflict in 1999. And it was there I sort of came face to face with the reality that arts and storytelling were incredibly important in times of conflict. And that's because I had been asked to escort a very high level politician's wife to visit the refugee camps in Albania. And when we got there, we had been asked to have a meeting at the US Embassy, and these women from Kosovo, there were about 10 of them in the room, talking about sort of the great work that they were doing on behalf of women and children in the refugee camps. But I noticed there were two women sitting in the room that looked really, really uncomfortable and unhappy to be there. And when we went around the room, they said, we're really upset with the journalists who are coming into the refugee camps. They say they're coming in here, they're determined to tell this one story about women being raped as a tool of war, which during that time, that was actually a very big problem in, during conflict in the Balkans. But they said they're coming into the refugee camps, basically saying, we have 3 days to do this story. We need to speak to women who've been raped. Can you raise your hand if you've been raped? And I was shocked by that. But what they said after really sort of hit home with me. They said, we fear that at the end of this war, we will no longer be remembered as Kosovar women, but as Kosovar women who've been raped. And I was like, wow. And working in the UN NGO sector at the time, I started looking at sort of the PSAs, the news reports, the documentary films, and it was true. There were a lot of very harmful narratives that were being told about these beneficiaries that we were trying to help, but it was like very one-dimensional, very focused on, this is very cliche now, but back in the days, it was like, African kids with big bellies, flies in the eyes, different nationalities, Ethiopians being victims of famine. It was sort of like we were being fed these one-dimensional storylines, and I knew that they were very harmful. And so I joke that like I didn't go to film school, but I kind of went to film school because I spent 3 years really learning the craft of storytelling. So I work as a director, producer, writer, I shoot and I edit, and I mostly still work for UN NGO agencies, but I really try to bring in a real different type of storytelling to the policy and program storytelling that was very, very popular, you know, when I started my career. Not only that, but I was a hip hop dancer. I was in a dance troupe. I used to paint. I was doing music, and I was a mentor for a youth poetry organization in New York City called Urban Word. So at the very beginning of my career, I started collaborating with other artists. I jumped on the bus of a musician named Zap Mama and went around the country screening my first film. I've worked with poets, beatboxers, DJs, dancers, painters, and I just really strongly believe that by incorporating different art forms besides film, which is what, you know, my specialty is, it opens up the environment to think about culture a little bit more. You know, a friend of mine that was a musician said something really interesting to me. He said, you know, our crafts are so different. Like yours asks people to sit down and think, and mine asks people to stand up and dance. And I was like, exactly. And that's why we need to collaborate. So from the beginning, I've always collaborated with other artists. And at some point I said, you know, it can't just be Lisa Russel and all these artists. Let's create a network. It's called Create 2030 since the SDG Summit. And it's really about engaging primarily BIPOC artists in using their talents and influence in support of the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm going to jump into storytelling again because I know I don't have a lot of time. But one of my favorite quotes is by Khalil Gibran. It's been said that next to hunger and thirst, our most basic human need is for storytelling. And what I love is that there's actually science that proves this. There's a research that was done that shows that the brain waves of a storyteller actually line up with the brain waves of somebody listening to that story. This is a very fascinating research if you wanted to Google it and look it up. And then they also realized that in a theater, people watching a live performance, their heartbeats synchronize. And so to me, this is incredibly like significant and profound. It's like, okay, so you're telling me as a storyteller, without physically touching another human being, I can connect with them. And when I connect with them and I connect with an audience, there is a lot of power in that. And therefore, I guess there's a quote, I think Spider-Man or Superman or something. It's like, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I've taken my role as a storyteller in the UN NGO space very, very, very seriously, and really tried to help change the narrative away from these one-dimensional storylines, or, you know, what was often referred to as like poverty porn, into more, you know, nuanced, multidimensional storytelling. Another one of my favorite quotes is by Tony, I think it's Cade Bombara. The role of the artist is to make revolution irresistible. If you notice, that's the quote I started that video that you just saw with. And I believe that arts and storytelling is so necessary for our efforts to accomplish the Sustainable Development Goals. And I would even argue, you know, I was in the writing of the SDG outcome document, and I was like, there should be an SDG number 18 because we need arts and storytelling. But the problem was, during the writing of the SDG outcome document, there weren't a lot of artists who knew how to work in that space or be in that space. And so even though me and like one other radio personality were trying to get arts and artists into the outcome document, I counted out of nearly 16,000 words in the SDG outcome document, arts and artists are never mentioned, and creativity is only mentioned twice. And they do mention culture, but to me, culture is different than arts and artists, especially when you're dealing with like contemporary urban art, and that's the kind of space that I work in. So I just want to share with you a quick 2.5-minute video that I did on climate change with a youth poet who's part of Youth Create 2030, and I'm going to tell you a little story, sort of behind the scenes story, after I show this to you. Please let me know if you cannot hear it. And I saw the shadow was previous to Create 2030.
Somewhere close A woman's hands are shaking like a tantrum under California's feet. I can feel the sea level beneath her eyes rising like temperature. This warm body of water sitting on the edge of her sight, still as the calm after a flood falls like an empire. Tears running down her cheek like wildlife out of a burning habitat. Her lungs, two volcanoes sleeping under a blanket of smoke, screaming in a voice made of ashes hot enough to peel the skin off the sky. Fingers running through her scalp like chainsaws through a forest. She's stressed out. Gray as a rain cloud in a hurricane. There's a landfill-sized hole buried in the layers of her heart. I can smell the methane walking out of her pores. Like an alcoholic walks into the living room, body covered in bruises only a man made. She cries every day. And if you ask her how to make her stop, she'll tell you. Ride a bike with me. Hold my hand with the lights off. Pick those poems up off the floor. Don't throw them away. Finish them. Use them over and over and over, and stop moving so fast. They're gonna miss everything I made for us. Don't take me for granted. Treat me like you would treat your mother. Like I'm the only one you'll ever have.
Okay, so that was just a quick introduction to my work, and why I like to show that video is that, you know, I am a professional filmmaker, so take this as you will, but, you know, Savon wrote that poem in a day. I shot it in a day, and then I edited it in a day. So really it took us like 3 days to make that video. It has been shown at the UN 3 times, and it got accepted in almost 40 different international environmental or social related film festivals. But the beautiful thing about it is that we didn't have any funding to make that film. It was basically Savon saying, I want to do a video about an SDG. Which one do you think I should do about it? I said, please do climate change. It's such a difficult concept for a lot of people. He agreed that a lot of his peers weren't really talking about climate change. So he wrote this beautiful piece. And if you notice, the word climate change is never mentioned. He uses a lot of metaphors. He compares Mother Earth to sort of like a woman undergoing abuse, you know, and what would it take to make her whole again. And once he performed the poem, I was like, well, I can see that film, so let's shoot it. We shot it in my kitchen. My kitchen is blue walls, black and white floors, but I have this like mobile green screen. Shot it. I have a free subscription to a stock library, so most of that footage was free. And then the polar bear footage, which I didn't have, cost me some money, and then the music. And so I made the film for $72. It won a couple of awards. We actually made money from it. But I also like to show it because it's also a really beautiful example. It's also a really beautiful example, I can hear myself, of how you can, how artists and creative people can come together and create new art together. So I just wanted to show that again quickly. I'm flying through this. If you're interested in any of this sort of stuff, like really understanding storytelling a little bit more, I'm going to leave my contact information at the end. But what I like to also to tell people of why it's important to engage professional artists who have spent years learning a craft is because, in my opinion, we understand story structure. And story structure was something that was really, you know, challenging for me to learn, because it's not something I can just watch a movie and be like, okay, I get the inciting incidents, I get the conflict, I get the climax or whatnot. And I also curate, and I'm a juror for a lot of UN film festivals. So if you know Women Deliver, I've been running their film festival since 2010. So what I like to do is just emphasize that my role as a curator as a filmmaker, as a TEDx speaker, as a workshop facilitator, is all rooted in my understanding of story. And this is incredibly important. And if you're interested in this, I would encourage you to pick up a storytelling book, a screenwriting book, or whatever, because this allows people, when I curate, I take people through a journey. And, you know, as was said in the presentation earlier, it's like we're not telling people what to think or what to do. It's like we're providing an emotional experience for people, inspiring them to want to then take action. You don't need to tell everybody about all the like issues that you're working on. What you need to do is tell a simple story that grabs people's attention and then allow them to find the resources that they need if they want to learn more, or make it, you know, again, just they'll go search for it on their own. How many times have you seen something and maybe you didn't understand all the complexities around something, but it inspired you to go search for it. So when we talk about road safety, we don't necessarily need to be like, road safety is a problem. These are the numbers. We need to tell a story, and then people be like, wow, I didn't realize it was such an issue. And let me go look at it in my country, or et cetera. The other thing I like to say is that there are also a lot of flat stories in the UN NGO community. And by flat, I mean something like this. A lot of talking heads, a lot of people who are experts basically saying, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. It's like, you're not taking me on a journey. There's not an emotional arc. There's no story arc. It's just, it can get kind of dull after a while. So that's my quick little introduction to storytelling structure. And then I want to end with this quote, which I think is a really beautiful quote and relevant to the UN NGO community when we're trying to tell stories about really big, important topics. He says, the bigger the issue, the smaller you write. Remember that. You don't write about all the big horrors of war. You find the kids' burnt socks lying on the ground, and you pick the smallest manageable part of the big thing, and you work off the resonance. So for example, right now we did an art residency with the 6 international artists. We're talking about story structure. We're talking about all these things, but it's like, we don't need every artist to kind of do the same art, and then this happened, and then this happened. No, we need to find the small little thing in road safety and then focus on that and make that the emotional thing that I'm connected to. So again, yeah, this I didn't realize was a Spider-Man quote. Somebody else may have said it also, but with great power comes great responsibility. And I would just encourage you, if you are interested in engaging artists and engaging storytellers, please include them in the development of whatever campaign or project you are doing, because you're going to get a better outcome in terms of, you know, professionalism, but 2, it's also, you know, there's a lot of responsibility that also comes with ensuring that you're not just looking at artists as like entertainers or tokenistic people. We just do a poem here, we're going to throw them on stage. They're part of this community, and I want to encourage you to embrace more and more professional artists because they can bring a wealth of value and power to the work that you all are doing. And then my last quote is, I'm a big advocate for giving artists a seat at the table, because we are incredible creative thinkers and we are incredible problem solvers. We deserve to have a seat at the table when we're talking about solutions to things like road safety and some of the other SDGs. And right now, there is really no artist representation at the UN. There's no working group for artists. There's no arts envoy. There's no special envoy for artists. And I think that needs to change. And you all in the youth movement have set a really good example of where I think artists need to go from there. So I'm going to end here because I think I'm past my time. But thank you so much for listening. And I will go back to maybe my first slide if you all want to get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find me. I can leave my email as well in the chat, but thank you for having me, and sorry if I talk too fast.
Not at all. I think it was amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa. That's a really powerful example. And one of the things that really stuck with me and resonated with me there is that when you're telling a story, or when you're connecting with somebody on a narrative that's emotional or is connecting to that person, that your brainwaves sync up. Wow, that's deep,
Yeah,
you know.
right?
And also.
Incredible.
And also the heartbeats of people connect and sync with one another. So I think what you're saying and what you're talking about in the sense of having a seat at the table. That's what we as well as young leaders are looking for. I know that there's representation for young leaders on a UN level, but on a local level, even on a regional level or on a country level, there's an understanding that young people need to have a seat at the table. But just imagine now if we coupled young people and artists, created these powerful stories, they just can't be ignored. Created these powerful examples of solutions of the problem. We could really create some serious emotional damage to people in a positive way, right? Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Lisa. I'm gonna skip, because I think your poem was really good, and we could always look at this one later. But I want to move on to our panel discussion. And before I do that, I just want to take a moment, because I know we've got we've been talking quite a bit as well. I just want you guys in the audience, because quite a few of you here, just to say perhaps one thing in the audience, in the chat box, about how you feel right now, about how you're feeling about what you've heard. You've heard about the why of art, the social factors that art creates and arts are important for. But then what you've heard from Lisa is the actual building the case of creating compelling stories, and whatever kind of art form that might be, that transfers and transcends barriers of different art forms, whether it's art or painting or spoken word, as you just saw, or, so I see some words that's coming in. Inspired, great, that's fantastic. Great, I'm so inspired, I'm making plans, I'm excited on art for Earth. Somebody's dropped a burger emoji. I don't know what that means.
I love it.
Yeah, all right, great. Energized, great. Keep dropping your comments in, and especially drop your comments in a few minutes as well when we start to hear from some examples. So this is going to be our panel. I'm not sure which screen you're seeing right now. Are you seeing the panel discussion?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, great.
Yeah.
So I'd like to introduce Kenneth Mulinde, aka Man Like Kenny, from Uganda. Hawa, who is an amazing poet, also from Kenny's organization, Yamu Youth Arts Movement Uganda. And also joining us on the panel will be Lisa Russel, who you've just heard from. And I want to start by asking the question to you, Kenny, is what's your chosen art form, first of all? Why did you choose this particular art form in the space that you're in? And I also want to ask you the question of how is arts, because, a lot of young people in this audience now are connected to arts and road safety, or maybe they're not connected directly to arts, but they have an interest in arts and road safety. So how is this kind of artwork and you as an artist and you transforming things into a creative way really bolstered your work and made your work more effective? So that's two questions I want to ask you, Kenny, if you so will join and take up the challenge. Over to you. Kenny, are you here? I'm not sure if Kenny's here. Maybe we lost him.
I think we did.
Did we lose Kenny?
Yeah, doesn't seem to be that he's here. Let me send him a message.
No worries. What about Hawa? Is Hawa here? I don't see Hawa either.
I don't yet know.
There might be like a Ugandan internet problem at the moment. As is the issue with internet around the continent of Africa is a problem. So maybe we start the conversation with you then, Lisa, in terms of the work that you're doing, and especially the work that you're doing in this new art residency that we've just had about the Claiming Our Space campaign, and these young leaders have had an immersion. So 6 artists around the world, and maybe people are hearing about this for the first time. But your work as a curator, how have you seen artists start to take this road safety message and really kind of own it as an artist? And what kind of some of the solutions that are coming up from that? You're on mute, Lisa. We have to say that at least once in this session. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
I know, I'm so sorry. I just start talking. I would say, road safety is not the issue that you just sort of hear a lot about or that you gravitate to, but once you understand what it is, it's like everybody has a personal story, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many boda drivers and tuk-tuk drivers here in Mombasa tell me stories all the time that are tragic, like young people dying on the roads, young people accidents. I've seen things. So personally, what I do is I immerse myself in the art space. And that's because I really try to find authentic voices. I don't try to take an artist and say, oh, would you care about this? Write a poem about this. I usually try to identify artists, and some of these artists I've known for, God, like almost 20 years. So I know the inclination of the issues that they care about already. And so I find them and I put them together with the opportunities that exist. I strongly believe, like I'm launching an NFT collection, and I really hope that it encourages people from both the advocacy side and the artist side to come together, because we kind of need each other. So for this particular campaign with yours in the Claiming Our Space, I proposed an arts residency. And an arts residency is usually, like, for artists, a place that you go to, you remove yourself from your normal life, you go, you immerse yourself in whatever craft you're working on or issue you're working on, you produce, and then you come back and you showcase. And that's sort of what I wanted. I wanted an opportunity for these 6 international artists to consume as much as they can about road safety, road, crashes, young people doing good work, the implications of gender, of climate, and all of that, and throw them in it and let things kind of, hit their brain, and whatever they're gonna kind of, feel, they're gonna take that. And then the next day we did a whole 3-hour thing on storytelling and getting to know one another, because ultimately, even though these are 6 artists from different countries, I'm trying to work with them to create one narrative. So I told you the story structure. I'm not trying to do one story in South Africa, one in Nigeria, one in this, one in that. Although we want these to be standalone pieces, I still want the entire exhibit to kind of tell a powerful narrative. And so that's sort of what I'm working on right now. But as much as the like UN NGO community and the youth community, especially at the UN, are excited about artists, I think artists are also really excited to be partnering. It's just that a lot of times we get asked to come into these spaces, but I'm going to challenge you to join me in our spaces and let us lead. And you guys kind of, we're putting you in the residency. You're going to absorb and think and do what, like we're doing right now. And then we're going to come together and we're going to create new narratives, new ways of doing things. Because that's the other thing, like the stuff that's a lot of times happening now, I was doing 15 years ago. So I'm not there anymore. I'm already involved because I've been doing this for so long. So there's a lot of exciting and new ways to think about arts with the NFT stuff. I'm telling you, like it's huge with, like this arts residency. I haven't been able to do an arts residency with a UN NGO entity. I've never been given that freedom. And so you guys have really allowed me, your team is really, Yvonne can testify, I'm talking all the time, like, thank you. Thank you for letting me do what I'm good at. And thank you for letting the artists sort of have the time and the space and the resources to create strong art, instead of just saying, oh, you know what? We need this poet to do whatever. This is sort of what we're thinking. No, let us absorb it so that we feel it, we talk about it, we're out, thinking about it or whatever. So, I mean, I can go on and on, but did I see Kenny pop in?
Yes, he's here.
Okay, so I don't want to take the stage anymore.
No worries. Great, Kenny, welcome back. We deducted that maybe you're having some internet issues, but no, thank you, Lisa, for that explanation. I think it's really important as well to give artists that space to not just be the people who make things look nice for you or turn up and speak or perform in the break time when nobody's listening and everybody's talking over cocktails or whatever, or be the entertainment, right? We want to, just like how we as young people want to be involved in art in a meaningful way, how we want to be involved in decision-making in a meaningful way, and how we also want to be involved in creating projects, creating solutions to road safety issues in a meaningful way and be heard. There's the same way that art needs to be included in a meaningful, non-tokenistic way that actually adds value to people who are there in the room, but also a chance for that artist to really articulate what they want to say on a certain topic in a way that's an empowered way, and not just you go over there now and dance,
And I want to just say one last thing, because I'll forget it if I don't say it. There's we often talk about, like, please don't say, we can do this and we'll get exposure. Like, unless you're going to put me on CNN, the exposure doesn't in the space doesn't help me. If you truly want to create a sustainable environment for artists in this space, please stop buying products from superstars and mega celebrities and start supporting living artists. Buy their CD, buy their merchandise, go to their show, support their Kickstarter campaign. You know, this whole NFT thing, this is why I'm so gung-ho on it, because it's going to create a funding mechanism for us to pay artists when either an organization can't or won't, or, you know, finding new solutions, and also try to pay artists when you can't. The biggest struggle right now is really ensuring that livelihoods are protected so that we can continue working in the space. Otherwise, it's like, you know, if I get paid elsewhere, you know, I have to go where I can to survive. So yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a really important point. It's definitely something that we should all try and adopt to support those artists that we know personally as well, right? Kenny, I want to go to you now, bro. I was asking you the question in terms of, you know, you as an artist, you started this Youth Arts Movement Uganda with loads of different artists in Kampala and beyond, and you yourself as a hip hop artist and a b-boy and all the great things that you do, but also as a filmmaker, you know, I'll let you speak for yourself, but I want a lot of people in the audience want to know, how do you connect, in your example, how do you connect road safety to art, and how do you create this impact that you want to see in the world through the art? People, maybe that's for some people still a bit of a click that needs to happen to understand how that can happen. And I want to pose that question to you.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm sorry, my network is very poor where I am. So I'm unable to share my video right now, but I'm really grateful for the opportunity you've allowed us to come through as Youth Arts Movement. But also the young people that I represent in Uganda, the young creatives who have been on the front lines of moving change and change agendas through their creative abilities. So like you've said already, I'm a practicing media artist. I'm so into media advocacy, using film and photography to speak to power, but also to open spaces and streams where young people can meaningfully engage and participate in issues that affect them and their communities. So as Youth Arts Movement, we've created that space where we both imparting young people with these skills, but also telling them to use them to speak to power, to exercise their right of expression, but also meaningfully connect and collectively challenge these inequalities and injustices within and around their communities. So how art has been used to speak to the global challenge and the crisis on road safety. As Youth Arts Movement Uganda, we have participated in global campaigns where we've created content on road safety. One of the examples is the campaign we did on helmet wearing, and locally in Uganda, that was implemented in Uganda through the Art for Road Safety campaign. I've worked with young people to produce a song that I would love to have a snippet into. So if Mao, you'd help me share screen when that song. We anticipate our buyers, where we've seen young people rap and do break dance to the beat, but sharing a very good message and encouraging young people to wear helmets. And the key message in this expression is that wearing your helmet could potentially save your life in case of a collision. So I would love us to appreciate that expression and creation the young people came up with. I need support of my colleague Mao. If you're on the call, please support. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I have it. I don't know. I'm not sure if you're still seeing the second screen.
Yeah.
Can you see
I put it in the chat too? Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna play it now. It's on YouTube. I just found it, but
Thanks, Manpreet.
Kenny's example of how you can use art, dance, you know, a culture of art to share a message on road safety. So let's give this a little.
Hello, why you Shambala element, where are your element? Wavuga boda. Shambala element, where are your element? Now musabaze. Shambala element, where are your element? Owakagali. Shambala element, where are your element? Obulamu kikulu nnyo. Kukuba bubeera bwakatyabaga. Bangi bubalisa maziga basangula. Ate abavubuka be basinga okufiiramu. Kakadde kamu n'ekitundu bo bafiirako. Bukadde 50 bafunamu ebisago. Balala bafuna obuzibu ku bwongo. Abalala bakutuka emigongo. Emulaga amagulu bagawanise waggulu. Emitwalo 35 abavubuka bafa buli mwaka. Naddala mu nsi ezo ezikyakula. Elementi ku mutwe tuzambale kuno kutaasa bulamu. Yambala elementi, where are your elementi? Wavuga boda. Shambala elementi, where are your elementi? Nawo omusaabaze. Shambala elementi, where are your elementi? Owakagali. Shambala elementi, where are your elementi? Obulamu kikulu
kuendesha boda bila elementi ni danger, hatari, vosi yache kuwa chonjo barabarani, wepuke ajali, jagali, rookie elementi, jaboda, rookie elementi, speedy bendo kiro asere, ikiriemi asere, niku mikiti kila tundo, fodi wa miti mikwo, weyi matini machik, rookie elementi, va, elementi, big road smart.
Yambala elementi, where are your elementi? Wavuga boda. Shambala elementi, where are your elementi? Nawo musabaze. Shambala elementi, where are your elementi? Owakagali. Shambala elementi, where are your elementi? Obulamu kikulu nnyo. Be road smart. Yambala elementi.
Fantastic! Thank you so much, Kenny, for sharing that example. I think it's a fantastic way of using art, engaging dance and so forth into a topic that's. I think many of us can agree that sometimes road safety is a difficult topic.
Thank you very much, Manpreet.
Yes, Kenny, please go ahead. All right, I think we might be having network issues again. But see, so that's one example for the guys here. That's one example of how you can use art, how you can use something creative in a way that's enabling other young people to connect with it and disseminate a message, which is really powerful and a really strong way of doing that. What I'm going to do now is we're running out of time, and I'm going to draw a close to the panel discussion. I'm just going to go to the chat and see if anybody's got any questions, and let's see if we can answer some of these questions. And I've got a question here. It says, let's see, this is really inspiring. Nice one, Kenny. That's good. That's good. We created a dance activation based on the idea of bringing infrastructure to life. In this example, it was the green crossing signal where authorities refused to create a signalized crossing. We created safety by embedding the memory of infrastructure coming to something different. It's now called a green man crossing, but has no lights. So they've also shared an example there of how kind of arts can be used in putting a message across on the green cross code. Thank you, Kirsten, for sharing that. Svetlana was asking about more examples of how we can replicate best practices in our country and to pay attention to the key actors in safety. Kenny, if you're still here, I would love to ask you, you created this video, you created this Arts for Road Safety campaign. And at the same time, your aim was to sensitize people, to make them aware of helmet usage. I just wanted to know, what was the impact, and how can other young leaders within our network, within this Global Youth Coalition, create similar campaigns or similar types of art that can actually lead to impact? And what's your kind of recipe for impact? And if I've lost Kenny here, I'm not sure if Kenny's still here, but I'm going to ask that question maybe to you as well, Radisa. And what would be your recipe for engaging artists in road safety to actually not just create cool art and nice stuff, but actually lead to impact as well?
So is Kenny here? I don't want to jump in if he's still talking.
I think we lost him.
You lost him?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm so in my world that just take this for what it is. It's like my perception, but I'm so deep in this that I don't know if it's normal. But like artists, like any place, all kind of know one another. If you don't know this person in Uganda, you might be one person removed from somebody in Uganda. So if somebody, for example, were to contact me and be like, we want to work with you on something related to whatever, like I'm doing something on vaccination and gender, animal vaccinations and gender. It's sort of like, wow, like, okay, where is that coming from? I don't know, but I'm sure if I think about it, I can one person removed. So, I would always love to connect people if I can. So you can reach out to me. And if not, maybe there is an artist that you know, that you respect, that you like the kind of work that they do. Like I work with conscious artists. These are artists who are already talking about gender-based violence, domestic violence, climate change, or whatever, and just straight up ask, do you know somebody who has done anything like this? Could you help me get to them? Because there's another thing that I've noticed in when like organizations reach out to me and they're like, can you just share this call for artists? Can you share this? We're looking for artists to do this or whatever. It hits different when it comes from an institution, because there's a lot of also like socially conscious artists who don't always trust institutions, right? And so if they trust me and I've gone through and did my due diligence, I'm like, no, these are good people doing really good work. That adds sort of like a stamp of approval. And so these worlds are so very different. Like, what would I say? Like if I was looking for a policy person to come speak at my festival, I wouldn't just randomly Google them and do whatever. I might ask somebody like, oh, I know you do this kind of work. Do you know, could you link me? Could you do whatever? It's like understanding that we're each kind of in our subcultures, and there's a certain level of credibility that comes by being identified as part of that subculture. And I think this is true in academia. I think it's true in policy. I think it's true in business. It's like people want recommendations from people that look like them, talk like them, or whatever. So I would say, first and foremost, I'm involved in this campaign. I'm in it. So if we can grow from this, fantastic. I'm happy to see if I can make recommendations. And if not, reach out to an artist and see if there is somebody. We put out a call, and there were a lot of artists I did not know who responded to the call. And that's because I kind of also put it out in artist circles. It's one thing to do a call for artists and then have it be in like sort of the development community, but you got to know where to put calls out where artists are looking or congregating. So I don't think it's psychology, right? It's not super sophisticated, but I think you just understanding, sorry, I had my camera off the whole time, but it's just understanding how people connect and how people build communities and partnerships. Yeah. In Albania, yeah, I worked in Albania. Yeah, this is worldwide. Trust between artists and institutions. In fact, the Youth Envoy's office called me and was like, we want to do something for International Youth Day or something like, no, the ECOSOC Youth Forum. What's the theme? Trust in institutions. I was like, this is right at the height of like the Black Lives Matter movement. I was like, are you kidding? Like that's a hard one, but we did it. But yeah, this is real. And so when you have these middlemen who can barter, negotiate, put a stamp of approval, like really, there's artists who would never work for the UN. But if I approach them, if I say, listen, this is so perfect for you, trust me on this, I know these people, I know this organization, they can oftentimes open up a little bit.
Yeah. And always remember,
having curators is good. Having a curator is a good thing. A middleman.
And it's always important to have that trust involved already at the outset, so that we can have quality artists, but through a channel that's actually that they actually want to be there and understand, and they don't feel as hopefully they don't feel tokenized if they're involved in a certain project or a certain intervention, right? Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Lisa, for stepping in as well. And Kenny, I know Kenny is in and out. I'm seeing him jump in and out on the participants list. But thank you, Kenny, as well. I'm not sure what happened to our spoken word poet, but we'll play her poem, hopefully maybe at the end if we got a few more minutes. I want to hand over now to our senior project manager, whose name is Ivan. Ivan is working on this brand new project. So you may have been hearing us referencing Claiming Our Space. And you know, Claiming Our Space is our strapline of the organization, but it's also the name of a forthcoming arts campaign that's happening in 6 countries. I'm not going to talk too much about it because Ivan's going to bring his own thunder to this. So Ivan, over to you. And it's really important that, you know, through this step, we've understood the why of socially conscious art and how we engage art. We've understood some really good examples from Kenny and from Lisa of how they use their art to impact change within their communities. And now we're going to hear of what's next, right? So what's happening now, the who, what, why, and now when are we going to do it as an organization? So now I'm going to hand over to you, Ivan, to talk a bit about the Arts and Road Safety Project.
Thank you, Manpreet. Maybe you can share the screen and just, you know, Yeah, perfect.
All
so
right,
thank
no
you.
problem.
Hi, everybody. As Manpreet mentioned, my name is Ivan Viquez. I'm the project manager leading this this Claiming Our Space campaign. And yes, I mean, let's go to the next one because I think we are running out of time. So basically, this is a practical example of what we've been talking about. Claiming Our Space is an upcoming campaign, and this is the main objective that we have for this campaign. As we know the problematic, we know the issue, we know this is a youth problem in the world. Road safety, it's something that matters to the youth. That's why during this campaign, we're not exactly talking about the issue. We are talking about solutions. We are talking about the importance of this meaningful youth participation. We're talking about the importance of youth being included in the process of decision-making. So that's why what we are doing in this campaign, we are claiming our space. We are claiming our space at the decision-making table. This is the aim of this campaign. This is what we want to do. And you will see all the connection within the artists' actions, the campaign, and all the activities that we are going to develop during the campaign that is going to be launched next Monday. So it's around the corner. So basically, the objectives that we are following, we are creating a challenge and an online campaign. We are integrating youth from 6 different countries, as Manpreet mentioned. And when I say youth, yes, I mean, like, it's young people, but also we are integrating 6 different artists from 6 different countries. And Lisa, she will correct me because it's like 6+, because we have more artists participating in the campaign. Also, we are going to engage with decision makers. And here is the connection between these advocacy objectives that we want to reach, and also the integration with arts. We're going to use art to transmit that information, to deliver that message to decision makers. So next, please. So basically, what is the call to action? This is the first step of our campaign. What is the first action that we're gonna take? This is the call to action. So we are claiming our space. We are the youth, and we want to deliver this message to decision makers. So what we're asking you guys, we are asking the youth to take a picture in a powerful position. You will see some examples in a bit. We are asking you to take that picture, showing decision makers that we are ready. We are ready to take our place at the decision-making table. And after that, we are asking you to go to our website, to our landing page, and upload that picture. But not only that, you can also send a message to decision makers. And that message, we are going to try to get that message to decision makers during the UN high-level meeting happening on road safety, happening in late June, early July. And what is that question that you have to answer is, what change do you demand of local and global leaders for road safety and SDGs? So basically you will have the chance to show yourself ready to take action and also send that message to decision makers. Next, please. What is the journey of our campaign? So basically, next Monday, we are launching the campaign. You will see how you can participate, how you can send your collaboration. So this is a teaser of our campaign. Then we are gonna have the artists creating pieces of art, getting inspired by the information that we are gonna share. They're gonna get, like our power posts, pictures. They're gonna get our message to decision makers, and we're gonna try to connect that information to the message that we want to deliver to decision makers through a art exhibition that we're gonna launch, that we're gonna have at the UN building during the UN high-level meeting on road safety happening at the end of June, as I already mentioned. Also, we are gonna have a couple of local activities. The campaign, it's an online campaign. This project is an online project. It means like it's a global project, but we are going to focus on 6 countries: Argentina, Brazil, Nigeria, South Africa, India, and Jordan. They are the six artists participating. Now you are getting like some information about the campaign. This is how the campaign look like. They are the 6 artists participating. We partner with Create 2030 and Lisa. Lisa is the art curator. So the artists, they are already involved in our campaign. We already had an art residency on road safety with them. They already took the picture. As you can see, they are ready to take action. This is the picture that we are asking you to take as well. So next, please. Basically, and there, can we see the video, or this is a PDF? If not, well, let's see. So yes, this is just an example, like this is a teaser of our campaign because it's not officially launched. It's going to be launched in a couple of days. So next, please. So how can you collaborate? First, follow us. If you don't, I bet that all of you follow all our accounts. Send your collaborations. It means join the movement. Join the movement, sending this message to decision makers saying we are ready to take action. We are ready to participate. Show yourself. It's easy. Just go out, go outdoors, go to the street, take a picture using a low angle. Put your camera on the floor, get that picture to you from the floor to you standing ready to take action, and share the campaign, please. So this is our call today. This is a teaser of our campaign, and as you see, this is a case study. This is a practical example of how can we match an issue. How can we talk about an issue through our collaborations, and also, like putting all of this together in a piece of art and then deliver an exhibition and reach decision makers. So this is from my end, and yeah, please
Amazing.
Follow us and collaborate with our campaign. Thank you.
And I hope, thank you so much, Ivan, for a great introduction to the campaign, because you've heard us talking about it throughout the session as well. And this is the official, the pre kind of launch to the campaign, where we are letting you know what's coming. And we're really excited to have you guys interact with this campaign and participate. And hopefully now you can see how, even in our example now, how we're using art and how we're working with artists such as Lisa and her crew of artists to actually affect change with decision makers on road safety as well. So something to really look forward to and something to anticipate on Monday. All right, so that brings us to the end of our session. We're a little bit over, but not too bad, 5-6 minutes over. And I'd just like to, just before we go, this is really, really important for us to get your feedback on this session. Love to know, what you thought, how you think it went. Did it inspire you? Are you likely to use art in your work moving forward? It's just a bunch of questions. Shouldn't take you more than like 3 minutes to fill out. So you can scan this QR code, or you can go to bit.ly/ARTvocacy in all capitals. It's important that you put them in all capitals, otherwise you'll get back to the Zoom link. Or you can scan this QR code. So I'm just going to give you a second to scan this now.
and maybe even spend a minute now just to fill it out. If you have a moment, have a few minutes free, I would love you guys to do that. It's just so we can improve what we do for you, or we can do more of what you like, or we can do less of what you don't like, and really just get your feedback on it as well. And then just to signpost some of these amazing organizations that we're working with, Create 2030, if you want to hear more what Lisa does and what her crew of artists around the world are doing, create2030.org, or you can go check out Youth Arts Movement Uganda. They're really active on social media as well. So youthartsmove.org. And before we go, I'm going to ask Mal maybe to do the honors. Let's take a quick group picture. So if I ask everyone to just switch on for a minute, then we could do that. Also, we're going to send the link for the feedback in your email as well. So if you missed it, don't worry. Or if you scanned it, thank you. And then we'll do that. So I know maybe people didn't want to take camera. I don't know. Maybe
just the camera, guys, not the microphone.
Who's Manpreet down there? That's not me.
No, I admitted to you. All right. Okay. I think this is good. I think everyone's trying to turn their cameras on. Okay, that's it. That's good. Okay, first click in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm seeing more cameras turn on. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, and don't move. We have another box in 3, 2, 1, and another one. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, guys.
Nice one. I'm going to quickly throw that back on the screen so you can see it just for the feedback. But yeah, thank you so much to everybody who has participated, and thank you for being part of this movement and this particular Artvocacy session. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you very, very soon for the next session. Take it easy. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ivan.
Thanks,
thank you, Kenny. And thank you, everybody who were able to join us. Much love.
Quiero saber si se puede.